you know, very much a battle plan, which he stuck to. And if it works, then that's what was supposed to happen.
I think he's hitting goals and winning races that probably he wasn't expected to do, coming back after, you know, that kind of heavy crash last year. He went into Tirreno. I don't think for one moment he thought, or the team thought, that he would do so well in Tirreno, and he's come here, you know, punching, you know, numbers out and getting results that maybe he didn't think he would get by now. So he's totally in his happy place.
Well, that's a nice thing. And when, just going back to Ciccone momentarily, when Ciccone looks back down the roster of riders who are here and those he's finished in front of, he's going to be very pleased with his performance. Roglic himself, despite his workaday attitude, or apparent attitude, you believe me, if he wins this race, he'll be very pleased indeed. And he does have the broadest of smiles when he gets to the podium. It's pretty important to measure yourself against those who are going to be doing battle with you in the Grand Tours later this season. And the roster we've got here really magnifies that. It's proper grand. This starting lineup for this race, Brian, would grace any Grand Tour. I know that you're thinking, well, what about Pogacar and Vingegaard? I appreciate that, but just about everyone else is here, Brian.
Yeah, they are. It's a high-level race. Plenty of top riders, but, you know, looking at Ciccone, the questions, can he compete with Roglic and Evenepoel? I think they were answered in the way to La Molina, because when they went, he didn't. He's just looking at the other competitors. He wanted to guarantee he got third in the stage, got those bonuses. And so if he'd have went deep, if he'd have went after Roglic and Evenepoel, then he might have blew himself. So it was a case of, when they went, it was a case of, right, we're looking for, you know, the third place in the stage and looking, you know, where we're going to finish. And I think Ciccone coming here, if he would take this all day long, a stage win and finishing on the podium, that would be his goal. I'm not saying that Ciccone's thinking, well, is third good enough? Realistically, that's why you have to look at it. You know, you've got two of the best bike stage racers, bike racers in the world, and you're up there, taking nothing away from Ciccone, but maybe he has to think about that. Maybe if he's got the capabilities of having a step up, and, you know, later in the year or probably next year, or maybe thinking of going for kind of these kind of week-long races and you know, riding a bit stronger in them. But for the moment, it does look as if he is intent in trying to get on that podium in third place come Barcelona. Well,
if he is behind Roglic and Evenepoel, he'll still be in front of the likes of Almeida, Yates, Bernal, Thomas, Landa, Verona, Herrada. The list goes on. So it is very much worth having a dig. I wonder if we'll see a surprise today. I wonder if we'll see a surprise. I wonder if Michael Woods has got what it takes to just roll away from everybody today. Now we've got an E3 update. If you want to watch the E3 after this, please close your ears, look away, have a scone. Well, 41 kilometres to go in the E3 Harelbeke, the E3 Saxo Classic. I almost daren't tell you what's happening, but it's all very exciting. So if you are looking away, I'm not going to read after this the riders who are in front, but believe me, it is extraordinarily classy. It's phenomenal. So any one of those who are in the front group could win. That's all I'm saying. So enjoy it at the end of this one. I know many of you complain if we over-egg the pudding. So
can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
When you tell everybody to close their ears, how do they know when to open them again?
Ah, that is true. Well, let's just hope that they've guessed it. Meanwhile, back wheel change. This is not the fastest change I've ever seen. This is not Formula One, is it, at the moment? There we are. I find this painful, Brian. You know my feelings about it.
The Polis are coming. Come on, you can't stop there. You can't park there. Come on, move on.
With two highlighter pens nailed to his shoulders has just come up and saying, you can't park here, mate. There's a race on. Oh, you're part of it. All right. Now then. One of those that we haven't mentioned who suddenly shines bright occasionally when it still throws the switch, which is brilliant, metaphorically, you understand, is Romain Bardet. And the other day, 2 days ago, he woke up and was very much part of proceedings. And he's the kind of guy, Romain Bardet, that can suddenly surprise you. We spoke about Michael Woods. Bardet's another one. Ben O'Connor is another one. Jesus Harada. This list's getting longer. Guillaume Martin. Oh, you will know about him. And, of course, Richard Carapaz. Why not? There he is. Looked lively the other day. Has he been resting? Don't know. What's Bardet been doing? Antoine Plouvin has been speaking to him.
Romain, dites-nous, qu'est-ce que vous vous souvenez de 2017?
What do you remember from this finish in 2017? Well, it was a difficult ascent without a lot of tactics. It's a climber's test for 25 minutes. Very demanding. And we'll see where we are. Kind of exercise you like, I guess. We'll see. I would like to have a harder terrain, to be honest, before the final climbs. End of the week, I feel better than during the first stages. Big fight between Evenepoel and Roglic. Is there space for you within such a fight? Well, so far it's been tough. There's a headwind in the final climb. We'll see how they race and when they accelerate. They are, of course, very strong so far. They've got the capability of putting everyone behind them. So he doesn't think he can beat the top two, but it depends whether they watch each other, Roglic and Evenepoel, and that's happened before. We speak of riders staring each other into the abyss, and that may well be one of those. 36 kilometres from home in 2 minutes and 44. Nice little flick-flat through a big roundabout. Well, we had a 7-rider breakaway until Guillaume Martin got the mountains points that he wanted and backed in. Azamendi, gosh, in the orange here, hasn't really struck me before, but he's very slight of frame, as is... that's it. But that's the cruel... some people criticise when you describe riders as small or diminutive, but not, it's just the truth. And indeed, it can work in your favour, especially in the high ground. So it is no disrespect at all. 35.5 kilometres from home, but yes, the diminutive Azamendi. I'm going to check his stats actually and tell you just how tall he is. Azamendi, thanks to Pro Cycling Stats for this. Doesn't say. I thought it did. Maybe they stopped telling you how tall people are. Who knows? 2 minutes and 45. Don't know where I got that from, but anyway, a little bit of a warning. Riders do that almost as a matter of course. Nobody wants to win a day by somebody else's misfortune. Not many, anyway. Brian,
I remember when I was younger, when I was watching television, there was a rider called Vicente Belda. He rode for Kelme for so many years, rode the Tour. He was 154 metres. Really? Very small, yeah. Quality rider.
Yep, exactly. Well, you can be extraordinarily explosive. I mean, not the biggest man, of course, out there was Esteban Chavez, who was fantastic the other day. Love seeing him go. Richard Carapaz within that team as well. They've got some ambitions, EF Education. They've also got Rigoberto Urán, don't forget. They can really dig into this mountain at the end today. It's going to be a while before we get there, Brian, at this pace. We're off the back of the slowest predictions.
Yeah, we are. There wasn't a lot of winds, but, I just think that everybody knows what's coming at the end. This kind of hockey stick. And, they're not going to kind of rush into it, but 2 minutes and 43 seconds. The guys in the breakaway, 6 of them left. Kern Pharma, Team Time Trial, is trying to get as much out this stage as possible, but it isn't strong enough, this breakaway, for it to stay away, and everybody's just, knows what's going to happen and doesn't want to kind of rush into it. So they just left all the riding at the front, and I think in the last, 20 kilometres, we've seen Soudal Quick-Step stop for a natural break twice, so that will kind of slow things down a little bit.
A little bit of a ripple to the surface of the water here, which is suggestive, of course, of a slight breeze, but it's so modest today. Even the palms, as you can see, are not really moving. And if you're going to come to a bike race, I mean, you know, you can see the pictures later on YouTube or wherever you like. Put the cameras down, just enjoy it. Always gets me. Yeah, were you there? Yes, I was. Do you see it live? Well, I was watching the screen while they all came by. So, but I was there. It's not the same. Lecture over. Half a devil remaining. Just under now. And 2 minutes and 36 as they come through town. They'd normally be screaming through places such as this, if indeed they were worried about those up front. When do they worry about those up front, Brian? 2.5 minutes at the moment. Could they carry that even to the foot of the climb and still win?
No, I think at the foot of the climb they'd really need about, with the quality that's in the breakaway, I'm thinking the bottom of the climb, maybe 4 minutes they would need. So I don't think it's going to be possible.
So we're probably going to have a bit of a holding pattern. I think they may trim it down towards the 2 minute mark. But do you think television pictures and the teams who are possibly even listening in to us, Brian, at the moment, do you think that is to the benefit of cycling? I mean, occasionally I do worry when we sort of say, "Oh, that was a bit dodgy. You might get a fine for that," and then lo and behold, at the end of the day, they do.
Well, that would be the commissaires listening to us, and I don't think they listen to anybody. But I do know that a lot of the teams listen to. I was in conversation with a few of my friends from the peloton, not in this race, but they say that even at home on GCN, this was a friend of mine in Spain watching it in English. I said, "Why aren't you listening to the Spanish TV?" And he says, "You guys are better." So I'll take that. Yeah. But a lot of the teams will listen to if they can. Whether they learn something, my friends, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's their thoughts, it's their process. It's a lot different. I've been in situations like this. I've listened to commentators. The thing is, you have to be here, and even a lot of our comms is remote. We're not kind of seeing things, we're not hearing things, we're not talking to the riders at the finishes or the starts or anything like that. That means a lot. You get a lot of information from races when you're actually on them.
31.4 kilometres from home, and big old train viaduct here for one of the faster vehicles than we're engaged with today. However, this wide open plain with virtually no wind and not much to describe to you, really. We've based ourselves today on predictions as to how this one will go and what's left for the rest of the race. Interesting as well that there are some riders here who are saying, look, last climber's day, but they all remind themselves how tough the final day is on Sunday. And we have to remind everyone we're on air a lot earlier, Brian, on Sunday. Because this race there can often blow apart, can't it, on the peaks as we head out and back to Barcelona.
Yeah, it's a very difficult circuit around Montjuic Park, and it will blow apart anyway. Whether riders are looking for the stage or looking at general classification, I cannot see any difference between Evenepoel and Roglic in that type of finish. I think it suits Roglic a little bit better, a little bit more kind of punchier, and Roglic has got possibly a kind of better sprint in the end, especially that type of sprint. But this is the big chance for Evenepoel to take the race lead, and I think he knows that, and that's why his team are riding on the front tomorrow. Could be a breakaway, could be another sprint stage. I think Cofidis would be interested, but I think tomorrow, I don't think they'll take the chance. I think within Cofidis they've got riders that are very capable of winning tomorrow's stage, and I think we might see the first kind of breakaway success of this stage, because everybody knows that I think Caden Groves looks good, and it's going to be very difficult. We got 4 teams riding yesterday for a sprint finish, so it was inevitable we got that. I think there'll be less wanting to ride tomorrow, which means that I think it would be a good day for the breakaway. But today, it's all about this man here.
Bad things can happen on that climb, I must admit, outside Barcelona. And seen in the past some leading lights just come unstuck, especially if it rains. And as you can possibly tell from the weather, We do have storm clouds about the place, and it's possibly because there's so much moisture within the earth. And as it starts to warm up, and we're nudging up towards 26 Celsius today, that caused vectoring, the formation of clouds, and of course we then ultimately get thunderstorms. And we're hoping that they stay away from our circuit in Barcelona on Sunday, but nothing is certain in that regard. Of course, gloved hands, steel fist inside a velvet glove, you might say. Is exactly what Primož Roglič, it almost defines the man. He's an extraordinarily nice guy off the bike, but you get into a battle with him when you're on it, you're certainly going to know that you've been beaten up. One man is standing tall. It's probably been a proper prize fight, hasn't it, really? And indeed, some bragging rights will be up for grabs today. Remco Evenepoel on stellar form. Primož Roglič is supposed to be approaching his, but is good enough to have beaten Remco on one occasion, and indeed still leads this race. Roglič leads. Evenepoel wants that jersey, and today he's got a great chance to take it. Well, I think we're going to be hearing from Marc Soler in a few moments' time. Here is Fabio Follini, one of those riders that you must watch on that day in Barcelona, because I think he's potentially one of those who could actually snaffle something. And they all want to, don't they? You want to get, if you're not going to win any of the titles, make sure you win a stage if you possibly can. So, chance to have a chat, catch up with Marc Soler.
Marc, ¿qué recuerdas de la subida de hoy?
Well, so what do you remember about this finish? Oh, very good memories. It's a very hard climb, very consistent, constant. We'll give our maximum. And how are you feeling today? Honestly, very well. Racing on home roads always makes me happy. What kind of race can we see with the fight for the general classification up front? We'll see how the race goes. If the breakaway is big or not, if Evenepoel and Roglič want to win the stage or not, to take time bonuses, or if they let a breakaway go and battle out for the win. So it's let's wait and see. Could end up being a lottery, this one, but depends on what Evenepoel and Roglič do. They could have a private battle further down the mountain, don't forget. They've got a little bit of slip room before indeed Ciccone starts to rear his head in terms of threat to the overall. Ciccone sits, it's a modest margin, isn't it? Only 19 seconds down. Behind him, Mikel Landa's at 44. So is Almeida. Almeida may well be the man that Ciccone's watching, because I think Almeida's the threat for a podium spot. As far as the day is concerned, you know, keep banging on about Adam Yates. He's at 12 minutes down. So if Adam Yates was sent off as a pilot, if you will, and his passenger, the man he's delivering somewhere special, is indeed further back, Almeida, and then he gets the call, Adam Yates, to dig in and go and enjoy himself. This is the scenario that I'm imagining for today, because Adam Yates, very, very strong, and I think even within his team, he actually wants to test himself more than anything else. Does he want to test himself more than João Almeida wants to improve his position overall? I don't think Almeida can beat Ciccone on this climb by enough to actually close that gap to a podium position. I'll probably eat my words at the end of the day, but it shows you how many scenarios are still wide open here, Brian.
They are, and you can have a bad day, and you know, we don't wish that on anybody, but you know, it has happened in the past. But I think everybody knows what the plan is. Evenepoel's going for the stage when he wants the bonuses, and I think Roglič will just be like glue on his wheel.
But do you think he needs the bonuses, or will he just try and get a gap on Roglič? I think on this kind of terrain he could probably find a second. That's what he needs.
Well, that's never guaranteed, Carlton. That's the thing. When you go on a climb, it's never guaranteed. So I think that he wants to have the bonuses. And I think between the two of them, they've always been in situations where every second is going to count. And, you know, we've seen in the past that was it San Juan when Remco Evenepoel was sprinting for bonus seconds in that race. So I think he knows that even if he finishes first and Roglic second, that's 4 seconds. If he puts another few seconds into him, he's going to need that, because you never know in these races what can happen. So I think the bonuses, they want them as well.
Indeed. Remind me, Brian, who was it, a young rider at the time, way back, it was like 2016, 2017, was it in this race around the Circuit of Barcelona? Was it Egan Bernal that fell? Just remind me.
He had a nasty fall, yeah, Bernal.
Yeah, was it him?
Yeah.
I can't remember which year. Somebody will tell me. But I think he was well on for... He was looking very, very good, and then took a tumble on a left-hander, I seem to remember. I can see the pictures in my mind, but I can't for the life of me remember which year it was. And I'm keeping my eyes on the TV screen at the moment, so maybe I'll have a look back in a wee while. But yeah, Bernal, that's a bad luck in this race, and I don't know. I don't think that's knocked him back. I think it's just form at the moment is not where it needs to be. We spoke about Ineos Grenadiers and their ambitions in this race, but yeah. Bernal, Geraint Thomas. When you start look at this roster, Ethan Hayter, you can imagine stages for all of them. Just wondering if Geraint Thomas might have a dig on the final day, you know, and just remind everyone how great he is.
2018.
Thank you. There we are. Brian has done a job for me. 2018 in this very race, Bernal taking a tumble on the very last day. So anything can happen. There you go. Wise words. Do you know who's had a reasonably stress-free race is Jumbo-Visma. Roglic leads. It's for Soudal Quickstep to do the controlling and the chasing, it seems, because Roglic can do the following, and his team have enjoyed the luxury of having that as well. Soudal Quickstep, they've got to burn themselves down, but they are proving that they can take that. And I was fearful that they will have messed it up the other day when Remco won, but they haven't. And so, if your last man standing is Remco Evenepoel, that's okay.
More than okay. It's bloody brilliant.
Yes, it is. Might be again today. Well, Remco Evenepoel started today as 6-4 on, which means, if that is your parlance, that you have to put £6, dollars, euros, whatever it is, down, and if you win, you get your money back plus only 4. That's not a massive multiplier. It shows you just what an out-and-out favourite he is. So will the bookmakers be proved wrong? 2.5 minutes, and suddenly the pace has kicked up, and these guys, I don't know, maybe the teams are listening to you and thinking, Ryan says 4 minutes, but not really sure. 2.5, that's better. Prefer it to be under 2. I think you need to be under 2 as well, because our breakaway is not bad, Brian. It's quite classy. We haven't seen much of them.
It is. It's maybe not as strong as maybe a couple of other breaks than anything else. They haven't had the best of Catalunya's, and they've thought, well, if we can't do it by putting one rider in the breakaway, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put 3.
Aye, let's do that. Having a couple of teammates around, it allows the favoured rider, the principal rider, to take his time. So of the 3 of them, who's the favoured rider in Equipo Kern Pharma? Don't know. Any ideas?
I would think it'd be Jose Parra. Doesn't shut up, does he?
Does he? Good Lord, no. He can talk. There we are. 21. Oh gosh. This is holding at 2.5. As soon as we duck under that 20 k's to go, that's where everyone kind of wakes up. On a sprint day, it kind of feels very much like almost the time where you have to get yourself up to pace. We always say that around about 18 kilometres, but we're 21.6. However, we are screaming towards an intermediate sprint. Once we've dealt with that, we are climbing, Brian. The climb starts then with 17 to go. So we're only 4 k's away from the foot of the climb, essentially. I know it's not categorised until later on.
No, it's categorised at 11.2, but like you said, it does start to drag up. But it looks as if one of the Kern Pharma riders is actually sacrificing his chances. He's doing a massive turn at the front of that that group, the breakaway, to try and give them as much advantage going on to that final climb as they can.
Everyone else spinning it up. Just having a brief drop in here with Callum Scottson. They've got Zagbul Gourmet up in the breakaway, which gives them a gift. Team Jaco Alula, not sure that they are going to be in the frame a little bit later on. X just showing the nose. Everyone's getting into colour order because they know that this is a dash for the inclines, and I'm inclined to think that they may well be slightly optimistic here. Ben O'Connor today, why not? For AG2R, they've been reasonably quiet, been in the breakaway, but would like better results, quite frankly. Ben O'Connor sits at a minute 41 down, quality rider, the Aussie. There has to be a day where he shows the class that he undoubtedly has. Been, all riders have their problems. Indeed, whether that's health or indeed just form. You have to kind of bed that in and then get on with the job, essentially. You're always going to be bouncing back at some point. 20.3 kilometres. And it's 2 minutes and 18. They've eaten 20 seconds in very, very short order. The chase, that is. So it's now, they want to be in a decent position on the climb when we actually transition to it. And we come out of town today, go through this intermediate sprint, and then we take it on. So strap yourselves in, to be honest. This, I think, is going to be a far feistier fight than many have predicted. I don't think Roglic and Evenepoel are going to have this all their own way, and it may well be that they look for seconds dividing each other, with others potentially rolling off for the win. Brian, however, is convinced it's going to be mano a mano, and that's a veritable prediction because that's the way this race has panned out. We were kind of hoping it would be a closer affair from the beginning. However, that's the way it's been. And there's no reason to suspect it won't be like that again today. But there will be a few who are thinking that this is their last chance for a stage win, Brian, and they're going to give it a go.
Well, if you take Remco Evenepoel and Primož Roglic out the equation, very hard to visualise that. But if you do, we've got a very interesting race for the other positions. The podium place, Ciccone wants that. And I think there's a lot of riders. This is possibly one of their last chances of trying to move up. So we will get a bit of movement. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more attacking. Like you say, for Yates to win here, he'll have to do something like Chavez did, get his team on the front and grow with a bit of pace and a few kilometres out. I can't see them doing that because they'll be looking after Joao Almeida.
Tortosa again. We left Tortosa this morning. We went out into the hills ahead of you. We zipped back. We then came back on the other side of the river. We've transitioned that, or about to do so. And then once we come into town, we then take a left. And away we go. I don't know whether this is that left. We'll roll through the intermediate sprint, which will be any moment now. And then indeed we start climbing with the hills that circle around this place. I was going to call it a beautiful place. That's not the best view of it, I'll give you that. Stick with it. There is UAE coming to the fourth. This is great. Now, how brutal are they going to get? UAE Team Emirates with Joao Almeida, obviously, Adam Yates, likewise, Marc Soler, Rafa Majka. There's a lot of strength there. George Bennett, Finn Fisher-Black, Ivo Oliveira probably had a day off, but you get the idea. UAE Team Emirates, I don't know, Brian and I called their home race UAE Tour, and they thankfully got themselves a surprise sprint victory. And then Adam Yates went up Jabal Afit and showed his class on a mount that he practically owns. And if you laid one map over the other, Jabal Afit and today, maybe they've just changed duties. 2 minutes it's down to. This is offering the breakaway a lot of respect. Also, they know they're coming through town, and then it's on the exit. We are climbing. No, UAE are there. I was not imagining it. 17.3 kilometres to go. Brian, you ready to climb?
Yep, it's just at the kind of foot slopes. This man here has been riding pretty much all day, Peter Siri of Soudal Quick Step. So his day is done. he'll just roll along and, you know, save as much energy for tomorrow. He doesn't have to press on. He's done a lot of the work today, and he'll just put it in one of the smallest gears in his bike and just get to the finish within the time limit.
Well, we're just starting to rise. This will be for a little tiny plateau through the sprint and then onwards and upwards. We already rolled the sprint. I think we have.
Yes.
Roglic is being brought up by the men in yellow. That's a Washbish accent to the left-hand side of the roads. Adam Yates is in the frame, so is Almeida, so is Marc Soler. They're all rocking and rolling, and a bit of nudging going on as well, Brian. They all want position. They all want to be part of proceedings. Evenepoel just guiding his men, saying, come on, watch out, storm drains, bollards, other riders, you name it.
Yeah, he's getting a bit feisty out there, and you know, that stare to the Uno X rider there, and ordering his team to come to the front. You position yourself there. It's fully focused. Evenepoel now at the front, and he's got his team round about him. He's still got 4 riders with him, so a couple of them have already done their duty for today, and they'll just roll into the finish. But the main duties are still to be had.
Verona, Sousa, Rubio, all for Movistar. They're riding the centre line at the moment, moshed in with AG2R Citroën, who'll be working for Ben O'Connor today. Interesting, isn't it? You've got Evenepoel on the left-hand side of your screen, and you've got Roglic.
Choose your side.
Where he is on the other side of the road. The Roglic side is where UAE are mustered. And they are mustered, aren't they? Let's see how it goes. Minute and 42. Breakaway absolutely done for, and it just starts to grind. Brian, this is a tough climb.
It is, and it just kind of drags up these kind of heavy roads when you consider what's coming. But you know, that shot at the front of the peloton, you choose your side. Who are you backing? Evenepoel on the right or on the left, Roglic? And yeah, everybody knows what's coming. And I think, was it 2017 they were last up here? A few people rode up there, and everybody's saying how hard this climb is.
They only categorise, I think, about 8, just shy of 9 kilometres of it, if I'm not mistaken. But within that, you're going to be hitting ramps of 10 and 12%. The average over certain kilometres is nudging around 10, but of course there are steeper sections within that. So hold on to your hats, because this, in fact, let's have a quick look. Looking at the side of the road there, mistakenly guided by a round hubcap. But anyway, I thought something was being outlined to us. Bit of slow-mo to see all the riders, and lots of chit-chat as well. Everyone wants their nose at the front, and they won't all fit, Brian.
No, I just think that looking at Remco here when he comes close to the Uno X rider.
Yeah. What on earth?
And then the stare. The stare.
Gosh, if that was laser, he'd have lost an ear.
Right, you get to the front.
You there, you get out my way. I've got to say, I thought the Uno X rider held his line there.
No, I think he was just at his limit. He was doing a turn at the front and just going to move slightly to the left as Remco was moving slightly to the right. Nothing in that, but yeah, he was just doing his job, and Remco was having none of it. He takes no quarter.
Love it. All smiles at the end of the day if he wins. Let's see. Right, just rocking up the inside here. Nice to see AG2R. Some very good driving being done for the men in white with the brown shorts. These guys, metaphorically pretty similar. Minute and 26, they know they're doomed. Are they scared? No, they're pushing on, but look at the difference in pace here. 14 kilometers per hour is the difference. So a peloton with a lot of rested riders are absolutely eating into this gap. It is fantastic. So minute 22, they'll be caught, I imagine, almost accidentally with about 10 Ks to go by the looks of things. Possibly extend themselves a little bit, but I don't think they've got anything left in the legs, and they will know that they're coming. Cars are being called out of the gap. There goes neutral service. See you, fellas. And you can see from the indicator we are already on the opening ramps. Despite the fact that for the time being it's not yet categorized. Lots of peaks and troughs around today, but it's almost entirely uphill from now on in. So the Mirador del Portel, been here in the past. We've had a few mixed results for favourites and the like, but I think today it really does feel like a two-man prize fight with everyone else perhaps looking for that bronze medal on the day. I think there's a few, though, that can potentially win this day, and it turned out to be that private battle goes on further down the mountain. I'm only imagining, because right now the reality of it is we've got 12 kilometres where we're going to find out. And that gap to the break, really, it's going to nudge under a minute before you know it. Mikel Landa, embedded within this group, kind of looks as inscrutable as he usually does. And suddenly he is screamed. They're calling for him at the Bahrain Victorious guys. Come on, we're just ahead of you. Hasn't made his move just yet. Some others moving backwards. Castrillo, that's it, I'm afraid, for him. Away you go, fellas. So Castrillo turning himself inside out for Para and Corotero. And at the back here, it is Para. He's the one that's just taking the rest at the moment. So Jose Felix doing it Para fashion at the back. There comes Landa, wants another drink and a gel and possibly a battery, to be honest, to get him up this mountain in front of everybody else. Fausto Masnada getting himself back in, possibly just refinding his legs and thinking, well, I better just hang around. You never know, they might need me towards the end. Burn down of your team is what Remco Evenepoel is asking for. He's got it, and he has no fear.
He hasn't. I can only think that Masnada's had a big change or something's happened. You've seen the left-hand side. He's actually ran off the road because I didn't think for 1 minute there that he would be dropped, because, you know, he's one of the main men for Remco Evenepoel.
Indeed, gets himself back to where he needs to be, up to pace, checking the bike, no punctures. This is Tom Paco, no Louis Meintjes, unfortunately. It would have been potentially a day for Louis today, quite frankly. Not going to be there because he's not here. Minute 12. And a look back at those who would want. That's Guillaume Boivin, who should have been working for Michael Woods, maybe already has done. A few others of the soldiers who find themselves out of position. That was Caden Groves, yesterday's stage winner you saw there from Alpecin-de-Koning. He just needs to get through today. He might have an option tomorrow, actually, Caden Groves. That would be nice, and I think Ethan Hayter may well be waking up for a challenge for that one. Coulthard will be there, Venturini. Be fun. First, let's get this done. They're still carrying over 50 kilometres, well, they were, into this. Knocked back now as it starts to pitch up. 10 Ks at just shy of 11 Ks from home, but as you can tell from the pace, the gradient is now just starting to kick up, and they've just collected Castrillo, who was part of that breakaway. There is the break, not too far at all. We said they might be caught by 10 Ks to go, not a bit of it. It's they're holding on valiantly for the time being, but it's to no avail. Brian, this twist turns, it's got some really nasty inclines as well. Would you like to describe those to us? That was a very big
being 11%, that's what it says in the road book. And so when you start getting hairpins like that, it just goes to show you how steep the climb does get towards the top.
Right, in about a kilometre's time, we hit about 8.5%. So it's detailed in red. Then the road goes black for 2 kilometres, around about 10%. You can see it's getting visibly steeper just ahead of them at the moment. That 10%, which will be from about 7 down to about 5 kilometres to go, it's really nasty. As a slight respite coming down to 7%, but it holds steady really about that and then kicks back up to 10. It never really wavers. It's between 7 and 10% throughout the entire reach, although the average, as Brian was saying, is 8.8%. you can understand why, but also there are sections here, especially on some of the switchbacks and the hairpins that Brian was talking about, that really do challenge. And it's going to be a proper grind, this. How much effort have Soudal Quickstep put into today, and have they put too much in? Have they misjudged it? It's a constant question. Seen Jumbo-Visma do that in the past, seen lots of great teams get it wrong. And here we go. Looks like it's going to be our last man standing. Is going to be Zagbu Gourmet. He's a great all-rounder. He's got all kinds of capabilities, and right now he's showing those brightly to the breakaway. Their heart will be broken shortly, I am certain. But yes, this climb, it's reasonably consistent, Brian, throughout the entire reach of it, and that suits those who work to numbers.
Just a moment ago when Gourmet attacked, that they said, you know, the commence of the hill. So they've already been climbing for a few kilometres, and then they see that sign, and Gourmet's just decided that, you know, he's going to try and go alone. But, you know, the Kim Farmer boys are up for the task. So is Amasqueta from Carual, just at the back there, Azar Mendy from Euskaltel. So they're trying to do it, but with 53 seconds in the pace at the front of the peloton, just for positioning, means that it's not going to be a day of the breakaway, and we are going to see the battle commence between Roglic and Evenepoel, and I think Evenepoel will be looking at trying to win this stage.
Just having a look at those last 3 kilometres you're talking about, as finally Carretero lets Para away on his own. Para trying to say thanks very much, and now I'll just power on into this gap that Gourmet's formed. Can't do it. Movistar making a move now. Verona Souza Rubio should be their trio of talent. But everyone really looking to the other side of the road right now, and it's almost shoulder to shoulder between Evenepoel and Roglic. You can see Roglic's green bands there. There's, of course, just tucked in was Ciccone, and we've also got Almeida on his back wheel. So all the principals, as you'd expect, riding together. And right now, this is a very good fist of it. Zagbu Gourmet making of this, just jinking momentarily out of sight of those engaged in the chase. Still a minute, but that's from Gourmet back, don't forget, and around one of the hairpins that really does start to test. He goes. Final 3 kilometres. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Jesus, you can count, can't you?
17 corners in the last 3K. That's not nice. Some of which, I think, let me see, 9 of those are hairpins. It's not nice. So it was not designed to be. It's our playground that will finish off today, and possibly some ambitions as well. Here we go. Well, the pack turning in, and these guys turning themselves inside out. 56 seconds. Gourmet's doing a good job here, Brian.
Yeah, he just looked strong. When he went on the attack, I went, wow. It's still a long way to go, and you're attacking at that speed, but he seems to be keeping it going, especially compared to the other 3 riders. But just look at the speed of the peloton. Yeah. You know, considerably quicker than the riders in front now, and it's starting to thin out. It was all across the roads, but now we're on some of the steeper slopes. We can see that Masnada is now up towards the front now.
Romain Bardet just starting to play his hand via his team, DSM. In fact, he may well have to do the whole thing himself. Let's wait and see. On the inside, tight next to the reeds, that's where you'll find, if you look through, you'll find Utebrooks and Jai Hindley as well. They'll try and get as deep as they can. Unzipped is Remco Evenepoel. Not really sure about this. He always, it's a warm day. It's 26 Celsius we're rolling with. But he's one of these riders who always has to remind himself to zip his jersey back up, because he loves to ride bare-chested. Adam Yates on the left-hand side, as you can see. So he's out of position. He's not with his teammates, which means, well, does it mean that he's got a free hand today? If that is the case, that would be fascinating for just about everybody. Oscar Onley's up here, by the way, as well. That's nice to see.
Go on, Scotland.
Indeed. What have we got? 48 seconds, and Bora Hansgrohe, well, doing a fantastic job of just piling into this one. Well, the Schelling was on the blower yesterday, just making sure that everyone knew that he wasn't very happy, and neither is Geraint Thomas, I'm afraid. There he is at the back here in unfamiliar company, I think you might say, but that's Magnus Kulseth he finds himself with from Uno X. But yeah, they're rolling and rocking with it, and here comes the Ecuadorian champion, Richard Carapaz. I think he wants to make a statement today, and he is clearly going to be EF Education's main player. They got Esteban Chavez, the Colombian champion, just tucked in on the inside of the Ecuadorian. They might work together and mug the field. That would be nice. Meanwhile, Zagbu Gamay still rolling with it, and he has 37 seconds on the peloton, who are about to collect those who shared the breakaway with him. Well, Kern Farmer, they gave it a good old shot today, but I'm afraid they're all about to be collected. They had 3 men in the breakaway. This is just showing you the distance, I think, back to from Gamay. But that rider just about to be absorbed, I think, by the peloton. Big turn. In fact, just dropped off the back of 2 of those, including Amsketa and Azamendi. Stamping on the pedals, Bora Hansgrohe. And no authority being stamped back here. And it's showing how it's shredding, Brian. This is big pace, and it's taking some big names.
It is. One of them being former Tour de France champion Bernal, and Geraint Thomas here trying to gain some form, but they've found it very, very difficult over the last few days. But really impressed now by Bora Hansgrohe taking this on. I didn't think they would. I think most of the teams would have sat back and allowed Soudal Quickstep to do it, but you know, they do have Jai Hindley at the front here. They've got Uterbrooks just behind, but this is what we were saying just a moment ago, that everybody knows that possibly Roglic and Evenepoel were, you know, the strongest riders here, but a lot of riders just behind off the podium are challenging for that kind of podium place and challenging to move up further into the top 10.
Primož Roglic has come to the front. This is Guillaume Martin, who was out in the break again today to try and get garner some points for the King of the Mountains jersey competition. He's expanded that lead. Meanwhile, 2 from the breakaway. There'll be 1 man standing once they are collected. This is Amsketa from Caio Rural and Azamendi from Euskaltel. They're about to be tagged. Landa believes, and he's called on his team, Bahrain Victorious, to set the pace. There's Zagbu Gamay, last man from the breakaway. He'll get a combativity award doubtless by the end of today. Mind you, there were a lot of Spanish riders within the break, and it's down to committee, so I think it may well go to somebody else. But anyway, 11 seconds is the gap now, but all eyes on those further back. There is Remco Evenepoel. He's in 4th wheel at the moment, but on his wheel is Primož Roglic, who's got Sepp Kuss behind him, or seems to be behind him these days, because Roglic has got his mind on the man in front of him, wants to make sure that there's no gap between the pair of them as they come up to the line. This is going to be fascinating. Looking back through, Chavez believes again, and why not? Can't quite see the Ecuadorian champion, Richard Carapaz, but he may well just be being screened from me. There, coming up, is Mikel Landa, making a good fist of it on the inside. Carapaz does not seem to be here, so maybe he's just dropped back. It's for, indeed, then, for Chavez by the looks of things. I may have missed him, or mistaken him for the bright yellow of Jumbo-Visma. We'll wait to see.
There he is.
There he is. So he is, thank you, he is way back off. Which shows you the pace that we've got here, Brian. It's properly relentless.
Yeah, big pace, and nice to see a couple of teams are kind of taking it on. I don't think it's to challenge the likes of Roglic and Evenepoel. It's about, you know, moving up inside that top 10. This is a big opportunity today, the last kind of mountaintop finish. Although we've got a hard finishing lap around Montjuic and Sunday, but this is the big opportunity for the climbers, and Bahrain Victorious and Bora Hansgrohe are looking to move their riders up, you know, a little bit further, looking at that possible podium place that Cicconi's sitting in at the moment.
So who's going to get the slingshot? Chavez wants to go. Landa's there too. They may well give the one and the other the Vamonos Muchacho, let's wait and see. Looking back through this group as well. A lot of lieutenants just find themselves struggling to hang on at the moment. Ben O'Connor's in the mix here as well. Almeida, he kind of tempos his way up these climbs. Doesn't really panic too much, but sometimes maybe he needs to panic a bit more, Brian, and keep up.
Well, he had a really tough time in Volta dos Mil. Had a lot, probably climbed that climb faster than anybody else because of his gear trouble. He does ride down towards the kind of back of groups. He does fight his way. He rides his own tempo. He's always kind of super strong. But I just love, you know, when he first came on to, you know, my kind of radar in the Giro d'Italia, taking the pink jersey and fighting for it. He is a fighter, and you know, he'll give it absolutely everything on this climb.
Kruijswijk and Richard Carapaz, two quality riders, find themselves disengaged from this group right here. Now Almeida is downstairs, and it's Adam Yates that's on his he's sort of half-wheeling Adam Yates at the moment as they ride the centre of the road. It looks like Yates is on duty for Almeida. He moves now just across the white line in the middle, and Almeida's sticking with him. Still got a couple of lieutenants working for him, and this looks like Remco Evenepoel's battle plan is to make this as tough as it possibly can be, and then he relies on himself to have the beating of Primož Roglic at the end. Roglic with the green ribbons across his breast. You can see Landa tucked in here, looks cool as a cucumber for the time being. Soler riding nicely as well.
Down the back of this group, Ciccone third in the general classification, is just at the back in the kind of red helmet for Trek Segafredo. But just in front, you can see Almeida and Yates at the back of this group. It is Jan Hurt and Van Wilder leading Remco Evenepoel, with Roglic just behind. Chavez is there, but one by one, they're starting to get distanced off this climb, which shows you the pace is still high.
I think Rigoberto Urán's just moving into position to help Esteban Chavez with a launch. We're going to have a big smiley day. We shall wait and see. If education, they often mix it up at this point of a race. UAE Team Emirates would like to do pretty much the same as well, quite frankly, if they get a chance. 5.4 kilometres to go, still bouncing with it. Everyone very much involved. Michael Woods is here as well for Israel Premier Tech, Brian.
Yeah, yes, just slotting behind Sepkus in the yellow. He's the lieutenant of Roglic. But yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult. We saw Bora Hansgrohe come up. We saw Bahrain victorious. But now it's Jan Hurt and Van Wilder with a very relaxed Remco Evenepoel. Just coming up to 5 kilometres to go. It's kind of set up for this battle. But I think in the back of some of the riders' minds is the thought of trying to kind of move up in the general classification.
Well, you don't always need a helicopter to film a helicopter from above, especially if you have a peak such as this, and the fans absolutely clinging onto it. Likewise, the riders. A couple of kilometres to go before we get to that last sort of hairy section with all of those twists and turns. Big one, big right-hander they're taking now at the 5K to go marker. But just coming into one of the maps that's been provided to us. Spat out to the other side of the road, still taking a lot of impetus into this climb. Hovering around the 20 kilometres per hour marker, but this is quick up this kind of incline. We're talking 10 and 12% on occasion. And just look how far we've come. That's the valley bottom, which we've flown up today.
Chavez is gone.
He is pinged off the back, and there's a few others as well. Just seeing if there's anyone else in pink here, because I did see Urán just making a good fist of this as well.
He's there.
There he is. So Rigo, again, occasionally we get this reveal, and suddenly we've got the big one here, and Evenepoel says, thank you very much, I'm off. Away he goes. They're all slotting themselves in, but guess what? Primož Roglic absolutely on his back wheel. Soler can't do much about it. Here comes Landa as well. He jinks out on the outside, has a look behind. Rigoberto Urán probably drag racing and trying to get anybody else who's interested up to the top here. But it's the two prize fighters once again, this time with Soler. Looking back further down this group, you'll find Adam Yates just coming into shot. He's got Almeida on his back wheel, but is it yet again, all about this pair. Soler's a local man. He's going to go for it. He comes up and over the top, and this is temptation for these two. How worried are they about Soler? And Evenepoel says, well, if you want to drag me up here, I'm quite happy to have your back wheel. Thank you very much. And Roglic, distance. Yeah, it's about a bike length, bike and a half now. He fights to get back on the flat. Just behind, if you look through, you'll see Landa with Uran on his wheel. And looking a little bit further back as well, there's Ciccone. This really has been a grading of the grains, you might say. Well, who's going to grind the other to flour? We'll find out in a few moments' time. There, bouncing is Primož Roglic. Looks untroubled for the time being. Evenepoel tried it, couldn't shake the man he wants to shake off. And this is a group of talent with Almeida rocked within this as well. Now then, who's got anything? And Almeida starts just to tempo himself. Now, this is what he does so well. Don't be surprised if Almeida gets himself a good finishing position today. There's Adam Yates, clearly was on duty for Almeida. Remember how he just absolutely battled up the day that Evenepoel won, just missed out. I think he finished in 6th place on stage 3. He's going to have to do something pretty much the same, I'm afraid. First, his target will be to bridge over to that trio, which is the Uran group. You'll allow me to call it that, I hope. Meanwhile, up front, his teammate, Almeida's teammate, Soler, is there. Will Soler act like a teammate today, Brian?
No, he's gone for the stage. He's 112 down, so he's moving up in the general classification as well. But you could see that when he went on the attack there, the Remco Evenepoel was not letting him go. He wants to win this stage today, but I tell you what, Ciccone is slipping back a little bit. He could be slipping off the podium today.
Well, that opens up a whole raft of opportunities for those who are further back within this group, and I include Almeida. It could be that Almeida is racing his own teammate Soler in a short while, because I think he'll come to the front of that quartet and then do what Soler would do to him and basically just ride down his teammate. Here is Marc Soler. We're speaking from experience. He's the bigger man of this trio, out of the saddle of the green leader's jersey here that sits upon the back, those ribbons of Primož Roglic. And here is Almeida. He is riding down his own man Soler and bringing others into it. There you go, a little bit of team cohesion disappearing. Bragging rights between Portugal and Spain, perhaps. Let us wait and see. One of these Ibex is having a look over. 11 seconds, 10 now. And so the pursuit that's being engaged here by João Almeida is, for the timing at least, reasonably effective. I can only assume that there'll be a response, and there is so. And here it is. Evenepoel picks up. It's Soler that's going to get disengaged here. I don't know if he'll offer a back wheel to Almeida, if indeed that does become a scenario. 3.3 kilometres to go, and it's the two prime names. The Young Riders classification leader and indeed the overall leader. They share the same time overall, don't forget, Evenepoel and Roglic, and they are going toe-to-toe. And here comes Almeida. Well, if he was the quickest up that hill because of mechanical troubles that we spoke about earlier in this race, is he going to have a smoother run of it this time around and do something spectacular? Adam Yates is no interest in chasing on. It's down to anybody else. And Jai Hindley it is that comes through and says, OK, I'll take on a little bit of this. And Giulio Ciccone looks like he can't offer up any kind of help whatsoever. Rigoberto Urán bounces out of the saddle. He's on the back wheel at the moment of Almeida. He's got Landa locked in right here, and Michael Woods as well. And they've just separated themselves. Almeida's going again. My goodness, what can he do? 14 seconds, 13. It's bouncing around that margin. And now with 3 kilometres to go, we'll come off on a lazy left-hander. It seems to go on forever. It will do. And then a lazy right-hander will take us to a hairpin. And that could well be a great time to start trying to distance your nemesis. And, of course, for both Roglic and Evenepoel, it's one and the other. Gosh. And drifting over to the side of the road goes Evenepoel and says, look, if you want to play the game, then go through and do something. And here comes João Almeida. Here comes Rigoberto Urán. And there goes Evenepoel. Says, see ya. Well, just as he was asking a question, he answers it himself. And it's Roglic that goes straight onto his back wheel. And there goes Soler as well. Got to keep this drive going. Remember what we said at the back of this sort of lazy right-hander, there is a hairpin left, which would be an ideal launching opportunity. He's possibly gone just a little bit early here. Has a look back down the mountain. can't see the chasers, which were clearly in sight, and there he is, Almeida, knowing that Ciccone, could there be on the radio a little bit of a request here going into Marc Soler? Do you think you might drop back for Schau and get him on the podium? Here he comes, make sure of that, could be a win as well, you never know. 2.5 kilometres to go. What a finale!
It is, and Joao Almeida is in the podium place, and Marc Soler has to drop back now and help him. He has to just forgive the fact that he's up against two of the strongest riders and trying to get that stage win. I know it's his local roads, and you know he is a local, but third on the podium means so much in this race, and Marc Soler needs to try and help Joao, but he's doing it himself because they're slowing down at the front.
They are. Joao Almeida has made it over. And indeed, Marc Soler, you saw the radio, he got the radio call, and that would be confirmed. You know that Almeida is here, and he gave the affirmative. He knows what his job is, and right now he just pushes past, and this could be Almeida. If Roglic and Evenepoel decide to go for 6 and 4, don't forget 10, 6 and 4 at the line. It'll only be a 2-second margin plus whatever Evenepoel can find if he lets the UAE riders off the leash. He's going to rest up for the time being. Joao Almeida's here, he's got to believe. Oh, he's zipped his jersey back up, he means business. This is because he's not going to take his hands off the bars. He won't be celebrating at the line, Evenepoel. He'll be driving right across it. He wants every single second he can get. If he lost the lead of the race by over-celebrating when he won the stage earlier in this race, he's not going to make the same mistake this time. Bayern Woods got off as well, leaving Landa behind, and Aran says, well, if that's the case, I'm going to come and join you, my friend. 2 kilometres to go, Brian.
Yeah, Landa now being distanced, but what an effort there from Almeida. He managed to get up to Soler. Soler looked, he waited for him to come up and now went straight to the front. This is playing into the hands of Remco Evenepoel, because he managed to get Roglic past him. He tacked him, but Roglic is sticking to him like glue. So the fact that they have gone, Evenepoel was getting a little bit of a rest, if you could say this, in this kind of steep climb, but Remco Evenepoel will definitely want to win this stage, and very soon he'll take this upon himself and go on the attack to win that and distance Roglic.
Having to go round a motorcycle, that's a disgraceful thing to do, is park yourself at a point like that, just clearly where they wanted to bridge over to take their nose off the next corner. Well, there you go. We can but complain on behalf of the riders. There we are. Maybe they're out of fuel. I do not know. 21 seconds. Looks like that way. Please excuse us. We've run out. Looks like a technical for that motorcycle. 1,700 meters to go then, and Soler now on pacing duties. He'll be looking at this mountain and thinking, gosh, without this man on my back wheel, he may be my teammate, but I could have had today. I'm not sure, Mark. Schau then out of the saddle. Evenepoel looks like he's barely mouth breathing at the moment. This is absolutely remarkable. He's got that killer instinct. Slight pale visage of Roglic for the time being. They'll be close to their limit, and the limit, if it is going to be found, may well be found by Roglic first, I think. Uterbrecht's just trying to grind his way back in. Woods leading around there in the pink, just behind Landa, of course, as you can see, and on his back wheel is Lenny Martinez. Good finish by him, I must say, for Groupama Francis. Popped up towards the front. That bodes well. 1,400 meters, and still Soler. Well, he's on duty now on behalf of Almeida. When does Almeida go for it? And indeed, will it potentially be victory today with the kind of firepower he's got on his wheel? 1,300 meters, not that far away from the Flamme Rouge, but we're bedeviled here, Brian, not by a truck parked at the side of the road, but by hairpins, plenty of them.
Yeah, Soler's gone now. He's done his effort, but I think Evenepoel still gets something left in the tank. He wants to win, not just the stage, but he wants to distance Remco, Primož Roglic. But yeah, still very difficult climb. You can see, where we're at the moment, the altitude. The last kilometre averages 11%.
Ouch. And this has bitten as well. Landa just tries to tempo his way back on. Fantastic performance here, I must say, by number 64 in the blue, Lenny Martinez. He rolls through, goes by and says, thank you very much, gents. I've been hiding all day and now I'm here to do my thing. And he's doing it very, very well indeed. What a finale we've got here, Brian. And some surprises, but only in the minor places, just for the time being. And Roglic comes through and he has to make a statement. And there he is, stays planted. Evenepoel gets out of his saddle and then plonks back down. Almeida is here. They're sharing the duties. Could end up as a 3-up sprint. Soler getting himself back in, and Roglic at the moment. And look at Evenepoel. His eyes just dancing all over the place. When is he going to pick this one up and go for it? And is he able to do so? He's kind of expect that, and every time he drifts over the side of the road, it's almost a precursor to him having a dig. Well, look at this. Yeah, don't bother looking at me. I'm just adjusting my spectacles. And through goes Almeida. Oh, this is fantastic. Soler, beg your pardon, has just burst through right now, and this is going to force the chase. It's Almeida, beg your pardon. He's kicking on here. Now then, if Evenepoel and Roglic look at each other, none of that happening. Well, it was a momentary lapse of concentration, I guess you might say. Apparently there from Evenepoel, puts his specs on. He was messing around with it, just trying to force others to come through. And guess what? João Almeida went through there and asked a question of them. Answered straight away by Evenepoel, with Roglic right there and then mobbing the young Portuguese as he comes up and gives him a disdainful look. Opens the centre and Roglic goes. This is fantastic. What a prize fight we've got here, Brian, with just coming up to 550 metres to go.
Well, he's learning from his mistakes, Evenepoel, because in Volta dos Mil, he led it from the fronts and, you know, everybody took advantage, and he's not going to do it today. He's easing up. He's still got something left in his legs. We're inside the last 500 metres. Roglic is propped on the front, but I still think that Evenepoel's got something left to win this stage.
João Almeida looking like he's dying on the bike at the moment, but don't let that fool you. And Roglic, cool as you like, pushes on. Almeida indeed has been distanced here in just a couple of pedal strokes. It seems he's a couple of bike lengths in arrears. And Roglic is on the front here, and Evenepoel is on his case. He comes up the inside with 300 to go. This is where he rocks and rolls at moments such as this. And look at the power, and look at the gap here. Almeida tries to force himself back into it, and Roglic it is that picks it up. He goes into that little pocket of that little aero pocket that's being offered up here. It's mano a mano yet again, as we suspected it may well be. 150 metres to go. 100 to go right now. Still has not unwound entirely, and Roglic goes to the inside. He wants the barriers. Evenepoel responds as well. What a fabulous battle between the pair of them, drifting over to the other side of the road. Roglic, and Evenepoel sits down. He can't do it. He can't follow. And Roglic said, "This mountain is mine. This jersey is mine. Catch me if you can." And today you cannot. Wow, Roglic takes it. Evenepoel apparently falls over the line. Here comes Almeida. Another strong performance by the young Portuguese. Well, you find out so much when you get to this kind of arm wrestle. They stared into each other's eyes. And in the end, Primož Roglic, his form this year, outstanding. And so was that. What a day of racing. Soler just crossing the line in fourth place, and then it'll be Oran with indeed Lenny Martinez coming up from Groupama Francis Déjà. Fabulous finale, and what a statement from Roglic.
Incredible finish, wasn't that? Absolutely incredible. You know, the toe-to-toe the whole way. I was just thinking that, you know, he didn't make the same mistake of leading them all and then get mugged in the end. He sat back, and tell you what, he really went for it. But Roglic, where did he get that from? He's back to almost his best now, and just when he kind of rolled into it, he didn't look too good at La Molina. But today, that was super Roglic, absolutely super. We know who our podium is. Roglic, Evenepoel, and a super ride by João Almeida to get onto it.
Oh, what a move. Almeida is
Ciccone
the podium, and Ciccone is the man who's going to suffer. I think possibly a top 5 for him is how this looks like it's going to shape up. Adam Yates coming across the line. He did a good job of looking after João Almeida, who gave it a real good shake of the fist late on. My goodness, Kuss just crossing the line right now. We've had some fabulous racing today, but what a finale, what a statement. Evenepoel tried everything. There were mind games going on. In the end, he reached for the spectacles. Almeida attacked. He was putting fires out. Roglic, who his team Jumbo-Visma have seen Soudal Quickstep do so much of the work. In the end, if you want to help, then help yourself, and that's precisely what he did. Another fabulous win for the man who now owns that jersey clearly. 4 bonus seconds added to whatever this gap was at the line.
6.
Brian.
Yeah, he lost 6 seconds in about, what, when he goes now? 50 metres. 50 metres, he loses 6 seconds. Roglic, 10 seconds in my book. The lead of this race.
Remarkable. What a fabulous race. It's going to take a long time for them to all get up this mountain, so I'm afraid the podiums may well defeat us, because it could be an hour from now. Who knows? Classification: Roglic, Evenepoel, Almeida, Soler, Uran. What great names we have here. Martinez for Groupama. Well done. Landa, Woods, Hindley, Utebrooks. Hindley and Utebrooks doing a super job here for Bora Hansgrohe. And the clock will roll on for a long old time, but Primož Roglic leads the overall classification now by a margin of 10 seconds from Evenepoel. Wow, I am out of breath, Brian. That was magnificent.
It was a cracker. You have to say Roglic pulled that one out the bag there. I did think that, you know, after the first couple of stages that Remco Evenepoel looked super strong. He wasn't making the mistake of, you know, towing them to the line like he did at Volta does Mail. But I tell you what, that was classic Roglic there, fighting all the way to the finish in a steep finish like this.
A remarkable day of racing. Well, for much of it looked reasonably benign. Once the flag had indeed dropped, we got an early incarnation of the breakaway. Ethan Hayter was up there, Guillaume Martin looking for mountains points, Zagbu Gamay as well. They were tagged, but Martin and Gamay went off again. Amos Keita was up the road, so was Azamendi from Euskaltel in the orange. 3 from Kern Farmer with Para, Castrillo and Carretero. But the relentless chase down was engaged by Soudal Quickstep. Earlier in this race, Remco Evenepoel had used his team throughout and indeed put in such a pace on high ground, more lumpy terrain than perhaps we had today, to burn down the peloton. Maybe that was the difference, because there were still quite a few fresh legs, despite the best efforts of Soudal Quickstep to try and dispatch those who would challenge Evenepoel. Roglic, of course, the race leader, but showing the same time as Evenepoel, coming to our final climb that would define the day. And in fact, it was upon that climb that Zagbu Gamay was inevitably to be the last man standing from the breakaway. His move detonated the break, but they had a modest advantage of less than a minute at this point. So Evenepoel was on the blower, calling for action, got it every time he asked for it. Everyone else, for the time being at least, was suffering under the pace that was being taken by Soudal Quickstep, or set by them, and the drive started to have a big impact. There were some big names that found themselves further down this mountain than perhaps they would have hoped, Brian.
Yeah, there was. They were dropping like flies, weren't they? And it was just a pace, but good to see the likes of Barry and Victorious come up, and Bora Hansgrohe tried to kind of reach out, but it was always going to come down to Roglic and Evenepoel, and who was going to challenge for that podium position.
Big ask on the radio. Come on, said said Evenepoel. Gosh, he controls the whip handy within his own team, and indeed normally within the race. And this is where we thought he was going to issue his ultimatum, essentially. Off he went, dragging Roglic with him. Marc Soler was there. Landa was trying to keep up. Uran in the wake. You can see Sepp Kuss was further back down, along with Israel Premier Tech's Michael Woods in the blue and white. And there were various groups forming, but João Almeida, had been nursed by Adam Yates, decided he was going to bridge over to the 3 in front of him, including Uran, of course, and Landa. Well, he bridged to them. Marc Soler was up front with the 2 favourites for the day. And then the radio came calling to Marc Soler and said, can you wait up, please, because João Almeida is coming, and he wants at least a podium out of this race because Ciccone is struggling. Well, Soler bit the bullets and worked for his man. When he finally released him, it was 3 up front. Roglic and Evenepoel, of course, with João Almeida, who once again had to do an awful lot of work. He tried roughing everybody up within this group. It was great to see. Kicked on, but that gap he formed was closed down by, you guessed it, Remco Evenepoel, the man who would be leader of this race if he finished in front of Primož Roglic. Roglic holding the green bands of the leader, and in the end it was a kick on by Roglic himself that was to prove to be absolutely vital. Not before a skirmish and a sprint for home. Evenepoel wanting to stay with Roglic, but he looked so cool, calm and collected. And when he kicked on here, he left Almeida in his wake. And then it was, as you predicted, Brian, between these two amigos once again.
It was, and just at this moment you thought, right, Remco's going, he's going to distance Roglic, but this is classic Roglic fighting back. And unfortunately for Evenepoel, as he looks around, he sees the Slovenian right on his wheel.
Straight into that pocket, that aero pocket, and in fact bossing each of the corners, just half-wheeling his man. It looked like Roglic had sat down at this point, but it was a bounce more or less, and then he bounced the other side of the road, and this is where Evenepoel suddenly realised that maybe he'd been outthought on this one. 150 minutes to go it was. Suddenly Evenepoel realised Roglic was going to take this, and he shipped 6 seconds as well as the gap in the bonuses. So 10 seconds the difference between them by the end of the day. What a fabulous battle that turned out to be. But Primož Roglic leads this race by a margin that looks unbridgeable now. Great ride by Almeida to come